Do you love the Dreamcast? I love the Dreamcast, and I am on an adventure to complete all of them, all the games on the system. There are almost 300 English language releases, so join me on my journey to see the credits to all of them. The order is randomly chosen. Last week we took a look at Street Fighter 3 Double Impact. This episode, game number 8, is Tony Hawk's Pro Skater. Oh hell yes, Tony Hawk's was one of my favourite comedians as a kid. He was never as famous as he should have been in my opinion, but oh. Not that Tony Hawk's. Tony Hawk, the skateboarding guy. That makes a bit more sense. This game is probably more famous for its PS1 release. The Dreamcast version did not sell anywhere near as much, but par for the course with the console itself. It was developed by Neversoft, published by Activision, although the Dreamcast port was provided by a little-known company called Treyarch. For the sake of completing the game, we're going to be focusing on career mode. If you like the idea for this video series, then leave a like, leave a comment, and if you really want to support it, then head over to Patreon. Patreon.com/abitmorejordan, when you can get these videos a week earlier than anybody else, and you get lots of other stuff as well. Go have a look. This has you choosing one of 10 real-life pro skaters of the time. There's Bob Burnquist, Kareem Campbell, Rune Glifberg, or is it Gilfberg, Tony Hawk, Bucky Lasek, Chad Mussock, Andrew Reynolds, Jeff Rowley, Alyssa Streamer, and Jamie Thomas. I apologize if I said any of those names wrong. Sadly, there is no create a skater in this game, so we've got to go for the man himself. It would be rude not to. Plus, they probably gave him the biggest stat alongside the biggest pile of cash. So there are 6 main skate parks in this career mode, and each of them have a set of objectives you need to complete before moving on to the next one. The game starts us off at the warehouse, which is really small. You're given a list of all the objectives in this place. Thankfully, you don't have to do all of them at once because there just wouldn't be time anyways. You only get 2 minutes, which is frankly insanely short. But it works, and it gives a great arcade feeling to the game. It's been many years since I've played this, so it took me a while to get used to the mechanics again. For the time being, I decided to focus on objectives that didn't focus on being good at skating. The warehouse asks you to run into 5 boxes. This is an often used mechanic in each level. They just swap out the boxes for something else. You need to do all of these in one go. You can't destroy 3 in one run and then the other 2 another time. You need to do them all together. This place is pretty small and they're not well hidden, although admittedly due to the art style and muted colors, they did seem a little bit camouflaged, but nothing too stressful. Next, there's picking up all the letters. Classic Donkey Kong style collectible. Spell the word skate, or steak if you're feeling a bit hungry. These tend to be easily observable and for the most part easy to grab once you've gotten used to the mechanics of the game. Next up, the hidden tape, because doing these objectives grants you a new tape, and there's one actually hidden in the level. In the warehouse, you can kind of see it up on a gantry. You're gonna need a lot of momentum to get up to there, and it took me a few attempts to grab it, but I eventually did get it. Next is the score, which after fanning about with those other objectives, I did get used to things. There are 2 score objectives. There's a reasonable one, and then there's God mode. The key to getting points is doing tricks. There's not much space to breathe here, but there's a decent half pipe to get some air. Holding down one of the face buttons and then a direction on the D-pad will initiate a trick. The longer you hold it or the more you spin, the more the numbers go up. And numbers going up is always a good thing, unless it's a death count, I suppose. You should also combo tricks from one to another to really get your points to stall in levels of numbers. If you fall down mid-trick, you don't get any points for it, obviously. So it's all about pushing to the limits without going too far, which is my goal for writing jokes for these videos. But if you play it too safe, it's unlikely you'll get anywhere near the big point score needed for the final tape. And repeating the same tricks over and over again will bore the judges, so you need to have some variety. It's worth noting that grinding is a decent option as well. It's just that there's not that much room on this map, at least for someone as crap as myself. I realize I'm just not a grinder. I can't grind a skateboard, I can't grind coffee, and I certainly can't grind at a strip club no matter how many times I've tried. I did manage to get the lower point score easily enough though, but that huge 40,000 points seemed a bit daunting for the minute, so I thought, you know what, I'll move on to the next map, hopefully improve my skills and come back later. That's worth doing because aside from unlocking newer maps, getting more tapes allows you to use better boards, which means your stats improve. better balance, better in the air and speed. These are useful for getting the big points. So yeah, I moved on to the next stage, which is far more open. We're going back to school. Man, I wish my schoolyard looked like this. No wonder the skating scene was so big in America. It's almost as though the education planning department had a penchant for the sport. Nowadays, any sharp edges have sponges covering them in case someone bruises their knee and cries. Kids need to break their legs, damn it. It's the only way they learn anything. So what if you need to spend 3 weeks in the hospital getting your bone reconstructed? It's character building. So the objectives for this one are almost exactly the same. The points threshold is higher, but you're still trying to find the hidden tape. And you also need to collect the steak letters because Tony's getting hungry. Where's the cafeteria in this school? The only thing different is instead of boxes, this time you'll have to grind on all 5 school benches. They're not exactly hidden, but the issue is that they are quite spread out. And unless you know exactly what you're doing, 2 minutes is quite a tight time. I doubt you'll get them on your first try, but I did manage it in the second one, a fairly easy tape overall. Next, I thought I'd go for the steak, which was an issue because firstly, I didn't spot all the locations by this point, and I completely missed the first S, which put me at a big disadvantage because you have to go all the way around the track to give it another go. Apparently skateboards don't go well upstairs. I grabbed the first K, pretty easy. And you see the A in the distance, that's an easy one once I stopped pissing around. T should have been easy, but I kept falling over on the grind. And E, very easy next to the empty pool. Now I just had to hope I had enough time to make it back to the S. And thankfully, I did. I finished this run just as ungracefully as I started it. I love falling over. It turns out that I already managed the first high score on this one, but I don't remember actively trying to do it. All that's left on this one is the super high score and the hidden tape, which unlike the warehouse was actively hidden out of the way somewhere and I had no idea where it was. At first I suspected it was on top of this roof, but I wasn't sure. After a while I made it to the roof of the basketball court, which also seems like a decent candidate, and maybe it would lead somewhere if I didn't clip through the goddamn walls. What's that all about? It took me a few goes, but I finally landed on it properly and got to the roof of the staircase where the hidden tape was waiting for me right at the end. Alright, with only the super high score to go on this one, I thought I'd try the next stage, the mall, which sounds like it should be amazing, but I'm not a fan of it sadly. This is one of those examples of a linear map rather than an open playground. By that I mean, once you're down, there's almost no way to get back up. You technically can, but it's slow and pointless. You might as well just restart or wait till the time is over. If you've missed something, well, sorry buddy. This time, the different challenge is to destroy 5 little information panels. Nothing like a bit of vandalism. First time playing this level, I didn't accomplish anything. I didn't even manage to reach the bottom. I spent most of the time on my arse, like my other bottom. I did get a clock on the first 3 pieces of steak, so that's what I decided to go for first. And it was really easy. I got them first time I actively tried. Second run, I don't know what I was aiming for, to be honest. I just ended up getting to the bottom without anything accomplished. Oh yeah, on this one, if you reach the bottom, it's level over. That's a bit weird. Next time, I thought I'd go for either the lower high score, whilst also scouting for the info panels, because I still hadn't found them all yet. It was a close one, but at a last gasp 360 switch front foot impossible, going over a gap gained me a tasty 5,400 points, which was just enough to send me over the edge. That's 2 tapes down. I'm not sure how I'm going to get that super high score since this level seems kind of grindy. The next run was almost a washout, but I did manage to scout the last 2 information panels that I hadn't seen before. Both of them were hiding up on escalators, the sneaky buggers, so now I know where they're all located. I could gun for them the next time, so it wasn't wasted too much. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, face plant, worth it for that extra tape. The next target should be the hidden tape, which I clocked high on a rail grind, which, not gonna lie, almost drove me to insanity. I couldn't even hit the rail, never mind grinding on it. I just kept timing my jump all wrong, and even when I did land, my grinding wasn't so good. I almost nailed it a few times, but after trying over and over and over again, I decided that maybe I could come back later. The theory being that the more tapes you have, the more your skater is upgraded. So if I got more tapes elsewhere, I could increase my balance, which should, theoretically, increase my grinding potential. Those coffee beans ain't gonna stand a chance. Now it's at this point I know all you old school players are gonna be shouting, "You're jumping from the wrong place!" And yes, that is true, but the actual right place where there's a car, I just didn't like it. I like jumping from way higher. Wrongly, but I was more comfortable. So I thought I should move on for the time being. To my surprise, the next map is kind of a new gameplay style, an actual competition against other skaters. You have 1 minute, 1 whole minute, to score as many points as possible. You get more points for being original and difficult, and get point deductions for falling down, which is my best trick. There are 3 heats, and your 2 best scores are averaged for the final total. As you can imagine, my first go was a bit of a disaster. All the tricks and stuff is what I've been neglecting up to this point, so I do really need to get better. Thankfully, this first competition isn't so competitive. Everyone's getting fairly average scores, but I definitely need to learn how to do tricks better, guys. My first one was decent, second I did god-awful, but my third run pretty sweet. Sadly I came in 4th, which isn't good enough to progress. You need at least 3rd, which is what I'm gunning for. The more you play these competitions, the more you learn about what works and what doesn't work, where the decent places are. After many restarts, I had one really good run, and a not a bad second one, only ruined by falling down too much. The third time I tried to play it safe, but one bad fall can really lose your time. You only have 1 minute, which is nothing. And overall, I just managed to squeeze 3rd. Now, we are back to the normal style of play in a map called Downtown. The gimmick for this one is breaking the no skating signs. Wow, you're so rebellious and naughty. The other gimmick here is that you can get hit by cars, which I did a lot. This is perhaps the worst first play I'd ever done. I literally didn't do anything. I just got smacked around between falling over. I found where the K was, but that's as useful as that 2 minutes was. The second run, not that much better. It was so bad that I decided I should probably take a break from the game, have a bit of a rest for my fingers to recover, because this is a finger killer, not gonna lie. With my break over that you can't see, my first try I managed to find all the no skating signs. Show them who's boss. Oh, I'm such a rebel. How dare they try to ruin my fun and carnage. I actually found them without really trying too hard. They just sort of appeared when I was casually going around trying to find my feet or wheels. Before that run ended, however, I did manage to find a nice sneaky passageway which I noted for a later date. For my next target would be the letters, since I now knew where they all were. I didn't grab them all that try, but I came close, and I spotted the not so hidden tape. Well, I had to go get it this time. Instead of flopping off the building like the last 2 times, I built at some nice speed and I got it good. I was riding so good I even grabbed the low-high score at the same time. I don't know how that came about, but it was a good feeling. And now I could move on. I didn't play for that long, but it felt long. Now it's time for Downhill Jam, and welcome to my least favorite location in the game. I just hate this with a passion. The main difference for this one is to open 5 valves. All you need to do is touch them, which, considering this is a heavy duty dam, seems a bit of a safety oversight. I mean, if some skinny ass white boy can just touch them and they explode like a teenager watching some dirty movies for the first time, you got a problem. Sort your engineering out. So why do I hate this one? Well, it's kind of like the mall map in that there's only really one direction you can go in, and it's heading straight for Headache City. I spent the first time obviously just looking around. I found 1 valve, 1 letter, found my way to heaven with this giant leap to my death. I also clocked the T and another valve. Not the most graceful thing the world has ever seen, but I took it as a decent scouting result. Little did I know that almost every challenge on this map would test me to my utter limit of patience. The letters in themselves shouldn't be difficult to grab, but they are placed in an annoying way that if you miss the first time, it massively sets you back. And don't even get me started on E, because that is just sadistically placed. There is literally no way to get up to it without making a joke of the laws of physics. I don't believe there is a normal way to get it, or you've just got to get the perfect frame and pixel to make your way up to the top. I had to try so many times. And don't forget, you have to collect all the other letters on the same run. So by the time you get to the arse end of the map, you've barely got any time to nail it. So if you balls up just one of them, you might as well restart the level, which is something I ended up doing a lot of in this game from here on out. And I think that is to a detriment. You spend so long doing these tough challenges that you don't have time to just enjoy the games and its mechanics. Eventually I did get it, and not only that, I absolutely played the game of my life and got the valves in the same run. Sure, the letters and the valves are quite close together, but still, not ballsing up and still having the time to do it, both of them, that was a huge relief. And it's clear the difficulty is ramping up right now. I tried to go for the hidden tape on this level, but after a couple of attempts, I needed something fresh. And now that my board and stats are upgraded, I thought, you know what, I'll go back and try to get some older tapes. Mainly my old nemesis, the hidden tape on the mall. My balance was higher now, maybe I'd be able to grind more than Hugh Hefner. Well, on the first run I thought, oh man, I've nailed it, but it turns out the only thing being nailed was the stitches to my head wound. God damn, that was so painful to be so close. But less than 10 minutes later, going off the intended jump off point, I finally did it, landing on my arse in absolute style. Such a good feeling after failing so hard for so long. After that, I unlocked something called Burnside, which is my cousin's nickname, so that's a bit weird. Well, it turns out that this is another one of those 1-minute competitions with 3 heats, just in a different place, and the difficulty ramped up. Remember, it's based on my least favorite thing, originality. This took me a good 35 minutes to get at least 3rd, which is the minimum requirement. Part of the issue was me restarting the whole thing if I fell off once. Maybe it's just not as harsh as I thought, but I didn't want to get a good score but then get penalized just for leaving in an ambulance at the end. It's at this point you also need to get quite adventurous. Just one-off tricks will start to lose their meaning. You need to combine things together. It almost becomes like a fighting game at this point, inputting button prompts that come together to make sure you get the really good combo. After being kind of mediocre a lot of the time, I did eventually find a bit of cheese. You can get big points via one of the jumps where you go so high you thread through this support beam. It's not an exact science, it's risky and a bit difficult to pull off consistently, but eventually I did it just enough to win me favor and grab me 3rd. Next, we're moving on to the home of everyone in San Francisco, the streets. This level is absolutely massive, which makes every challenge in this one really tough, especially the skates one, because they're literally as far apart as possibly they can be. But firstly, I did the easier one. Always the easier one. This time you're showing the respect most Californians give to the police by skating along their cars. I mean, if the government don't defund them, we'll bankrupt them by making them have to constantly buy replacement car lights. That'll show them. It'll only take 40 years, but we'll get there. We'll get there. Yes, that's relievingly easy. I got it on my 2nd run. After that, I wanted the letters, but I had no idea where they all were. On the way, I did spot the hidden tape, which perplexed me greatly because it's way up high with no other buildings in close proximity. I mean, how the hell am I supposed to get up there? Then I saw this suspiciously elevated gap here waiting for me to go up. Lo and behold, it takes me all the way to the top of the roof, way up high. It leads to a ramp which you're supposed to use to jump to the hidden tape. Looks way simpler than it actually is. There is no room for error here, and I just struggled to get the distance in my jumps, never mind ballsing it up just to get back up there. At one point I thought it seemed impossible to get the distance. I paused the game and I watched someone on YouTube do it just to see if I wasn't going mad. I was going mad because it is possible. I didn't learn jack aside from that I'm apparently rubbish. However, the game must have detected that I was suspicious of it taking the piss because on the very first attempt after watching someone else do it, I pulled it off. My guess is that I was doing a trick that made my distance shorter. I should have done a different kind of trick to give me more distance. I didn't know that was a thing. Well, back to grabbing the letters now, my distraction is out of the way. One of them is in this shop thing, one's in the park, one's in Chinatown, one trickily up on this lobby area which can be smashed into with an awkward jump, and the last one is what I would assume is some sort of like train station entrance. You've got to get up high for this dome thing, which is where I found the prime spot to get the high scores. Seemed perfect, but the threshold is really high for this one, so after a few attempts I decided to go elsewhere to hoover up some tapes from past levels. I entered my arch nemesis, downhill. I felt if I didn't need to focus on anything else, a nice clean run down to the bottom shouldn't be too strenuous to get the lower high score, and I was correct. At this point, I was running out of what I thought were reasonable achievements. I didn't have any new levels, so having to go get the missed tapes, usually the super high scores, I thought, maybe the first level should be easy enough, because the highest score there is lower than some of the lower high scores elsewhere, if that makes sense. It seems maybe doable. And it was. I did it first time, mostly just from doing tricks on the half pipe. After this, I'm told I need 3 more tapes until I unlock the final map. Next, I decided on the school. The high score for this was 25,000, which seemed really steep for me and my limited capabilities, and I did have to play a good few times before I got close, but thanks to a decent few tricks in the empty swimming pool, I just squeezed over the line with 10 seconds to go. 2 more tapes needed. The mall was asking for 30,000 points, which I tried, I really did try, but the closest I came to was like 25k. It's a long way off. After 15 minutes, I decided to try my luck elsewhere. I still hadn't got the lower high score on San Francisco. It was high, 25k, but I did have a decent candidate as to where I should, go and try and do it. After a really great run, I did manage to do it and then some. I was knocking on the door of the pro score for that one, so I just needed 1 more tape. I tried for almost an hour to get the pro score on Downtown, but it was a lost cause, so I had to look elsewhere, and it would have to be my nemesis Downhill once more. The hidden tape was there, teasing me. The main reason I didn't grab it before is because I couldn't make this jump no matter how many times I tried, but it turns out I should have been wall grinding across, which I'm not sure is available in modern day physics. I think we lost that in an update from the mid-2000s. But once I learned I could do that, it still wasn't easy because, carrying momentum is really difficult up here, but after 15 minutes I did it. That's it. I got all the tapes I needed to unlock the final challenge, and the challenge is Roswell. Yes, there is a skateboarding tournament in New Mexico with aliens and spacecrafts and crushing difficulty. As cool as this place is, what with the aliens and spacecrafts, there doesn't appear to be a whole lot of opportunity to do really impressive tricks, unless I'm missing something. The best place I saw was in here, where it's possible to do a trick while going over a gap, which is apparently more impressive to the judges. I don't know. I got into the routine of just restarting the whole thing if I messed up one time, and that's what made this take so long. And even if I didn't get a half decent score the first time, I just wouldn't bother carrying on because the other skaters are just so high ranked, like in the 90s in terms of points. You cannot be mediocre here. After experimenting a while, I targeted on a plan of action, something which I knew could work as long as I didn't have a brain fart. Going on the first ramp, grind along here, enter the spacecraft place, and cheese the living hell out of this small gap. And I obviously can't show you everything because I did this for a damn hour, but I was just losing hope. I got 30,000 points on my first run, 26k on my second, and I panicked so much on my third I almost started to cry thinking I pulled a Jordan once more. But remember, only your best 2 scores are taken, and the judges came in favor with those 2. I got third once again. I have beaten the game. I got to the end credits. Holy crap. Overall, man, this is such a blast from the past. While I've never dabbled in skating myself, I always enjoyed it as a preteen, like watching Jackass and things like that, alongside playing this. I mean, I never had it myself, but I played it somewhere with someone. It was just awesome. Like, everyone had this game, so I didn't need to buy it. I just went to a friend's house. It plays surprisingly well. It's very focused and does like a bit of content, but it's certainly worth playing. I would easily give this a 9 out of 10 in terms of fun. Presentation also gets a 9 out of 10. Visually it's alright, but they nailed the music. Obviously I can't let you hear it because the YouTube gods would smite me good. In terms of difficulty, there's definitely a skill curve to get used to. If you just want to casually play through the levels, then it's fine. Most tapes are easy enough to come by, but getting all of them will push you quite a lot. I would give it an 8.5 out of 10 for difficulty. Getting the bronze medal on Roswell really pushed me hard. And even just unlocking that level will require a lot of patience, skill, and a smidge of luck. How long did it take me to complete it? It took me 6.5 hours, which is mildly embarrassing, not gonna lie. I was expecting like 4 or 5. But no, I'm just not good at this game, it seems. Thank you for watching. Did you play this back in the day? What did you think of it? If you enjoy these videos, do me a favor and leave a like, and even better, check out my Patreon with the link in the description because you get these videos early and ad-free alongside so many other perks. It's definitely worth a look. In fact, you can probably watch next week's episode right now already on there. The RNG gods picked F1 World Grand Prix. Exhilarating, I'm sure you'll agree. If you watched all the way through, please leave me a skateboard emoji in the comments so I know that you're a massive legend, alright? Special thanks to my super producers, Alexander Cato, Brent McLean, FF14 Best RPG, JCross7776, Vay, Sven Nowlertz, and Wixit. Thank you ever so much for your wonderful support.